Here's what's coming up on the Cold Podcast.
Where I only got a steak and it cost me $600. My drink was empty like 6 or 7 times and I had to raise my hand in the air to get her to come to refill it.
Yeah, like at that point, you're literally just doing exactly what your job is. It's like you're not really going above and beyond to any extent.
And, you know, if you flip it back, if you don't give them a tip and you flip it around, a lot of the time they'll like scoff at you.
What's poppin', everybody?
Welcome back to the Cold Podcast.
I'm Zoe.
And I'm Steve.
And today we're going to be talking about tipping. Should you do it or should you just leave?
Yeah, it's tipping. People have been tipping for pretty much centuries, but a lot of people feel like they're obligated to tip.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people feel different about it, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say like a lot, especially nowadays, you have a lot of restaurants where they either heavily encourage it through like certain practices that they do, at the time of pay. Or there's like, gratuity included type of, practices at places that pretty much force you to have to pay it. And, there's a certain amount of videos or a trend going on with TikTok where people are starting to have issue with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people, they get paid lower wages because they're servers. A lot of people don't know this, but the federal minimum wage for servers is $2.13.
Yeah, that actually surprised me because I was thinking, I have friends that work in service, and every time they bring it up about like, service, we don't get paid a lot. Like a lot of our money is going to come through tips. I didn't know it was that low. I never hear anyone ever say it. But hearing that the minimum could be as low as $2.13, now I know why.
Yeah, so you can go an entire shift, and if no one tips you, you only made $16 in an 8-hour shift. That's kind of insane.
That is insane. I feel like, with that type of salary, I feel like, yeah, we should probably just go towards a system of at least getting minimum wage to people. And to where, like, the average man doesn't feel like, I'm, pretty much screwing over the server if I don't give, like, an extra 20 to 30%.
Yeah, and it's interesting because that's actually not even what the controversy is right now. The controversy is more so how more restaurants and non-restaurants, like Starbucks, for example, a lot more places are asking for tips, and people feel like they deserve a tip regardless of their level of service.
Yeah.
So we actually should probably watch, like, one of the videos that we have about tipping. Yeah, there's some TikTok videos that cover the topic pretty, like, just people being upset, at the experience they have with servers.
Based on the cost of food and not actual service.
Yeah, people are going to hate me for this, but I do not tip according to the cost of food. I don't care if my bill was $1,000 or if I go somewhere and it was $25. Your tip depends on how well you treated me. It's the small, minute details. If I take a drink from my drink and it never hits ice, you're getting a good tip. If I'm never looking around for my server or wondering where the hell you're at to ask you a question, you're getting a good tip. I have tipped higher for Waffle House than I have for a $600 steak dinner. Because the lady at Waffle House filled my drink before it hit empty, and she always put it on my left-hand side where I was putting my drink. Versus the restaurant where I only got a steak and it cost me $600. My drink was empty 6 or 7 times and I had to raise my hand in the air to get her to come to refill it. I don't care how much the bill is. You're getting tipped off of your service. At least with me. Ding.
I wonder why his hair is pink.
He probably just
he was a server.
likes the color.
That explains it.
Yeah, he probably gets higher tips because of it.
Yeah, that's true. You switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think with what he was saying, it's like personally, I tip based on service, but I have family members and friends who say like that's not the way you're supposed to do it. Like you're supposed to tip based on like how much you paid for your food. So it's like you get $100 meal, 18%. That's another $20 basically. So
yeah, that's true. I kind of go off the I do the other thing. I pay based off like the cost of the meal. I just know in general, like ethically, they say like 10 to 15%. So I usually hit 15. I'm like 15%. So if I have like a $20 meal, I'm like, all right, anything over $2, that's what you're getting. But I rarely ever think about the service involved because personally, I'm not the type of person that asks for a lot. I'm like, as long as you bring me my food, I don't really have anything else to ask you.
Yeah.
But the only time I kind of get like a little skeptical about it is when, let's say, out of a restaurant setting, like I've noticed like certain fast food chains start to incorporate that. Like if you go to Subway, it asks if you want to tip, when you go to pay for it. That's when I'm kind of like, why would I tip you?
Yeah, there's no real reason to tip.
Yeah, like at that point, you're literally just doing exactly what your job is. It's like you're not really going above and beyond to any extent.
Right.
It's like, if you're not making the sandwich, what else are you doing?
Right. And back to the point about the wages themselves, like when it comes to having a tipping culture, there's a lot of different things that you sort of wouldn't be able to predict. The average tip according to the U.S. Census and Bureau of Labor Statistics, they basically say that the typical hourly tips for bartenders and servers that are white is $7. Then as you go through the list of different minorities, the number gets smaller and smaller. So like Latino people earn about $6 an hour, black people earn about $5.50, and Asians actually earn $4.77.
Interesting.
Yeah, somehow Asians earn the least.
You know what? I have a theory about. That's culturally appropriate too. Yeah. No, I'm wondering like why that is. I was gonna give my reason, but do you have one? Why you think that like the racial difference is there?
Honestly, I just think like the main difference would probably be like, and this may be stereotypical. This may be me stereotyping Asians, but I kind of feel like if you're an Asian person and you're working in the service industry, you likely are in a lower income neighborhood because like sometimes and you go to the hood, there's just like random like Korean people or Chinese people. Yeah, I imagine they're probably taking data from a lower income area where there's Asian people because I feel like most because Asians are in the top earners of all America. It's not white people. The top earners in America are Asian or Indian. Yeah, right. So if you take the Asian people in like LA or Hollywood or whatever, and they're a server, they're probably going to be earning a good amount. But then there's also a lot of people that just came here from other like other countries, and they're going to be in lower income areas. So of course they're going to get lower tips. That's kind of my thought.
Okay, my theory is I guess kind of along those lines, but I kind of can expand it to every group, and I think it deals with I think like cultural income plays a part. So it's like whites probably tend to get tipped the higher because a lot of them were white restaurants are mostly going to be in white neighborhoods. You'll probably have a mixture of like middle to higher income, and culturally they're used to the tipping system, so like they're probably going to get the higher. You kind of flow down the chart. I think like they said, blacks and Latinx kind of go next, and they would be lower because I'm assuming like most blacks and Latinos will tend to live in lower income areas compared to whites. And culturally, I know with my own people, black people, we're not the best tippers. So, like, I think that kind of plays a part that puts us there. Now, interestingly enough, I think Asians, even though they tend to have, like, higher incomes across the board even compared to whites, I think theirs because culturally they're, like, usually not, like, their parents are usually, like, one, maybe even two generations removed from being completely immigrants.
Right. So and there's no tipping over there.
Exactly. And they come from cultures where tipping is in common. So I think when they're using those statistics, they're looking at a demographic that probably, is right from a culture that never tips. So that's not something they do. So I think that might play into why Asians tend to get tipped the less.
Yeah, that actually makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This guy William Scott actually said he described this is 100 years ago. He described tipping as it borders on bribery and amounts to legalized robbery.
This guy sounds so angry with those types of words.
That's a century old. Yeah, hey, that's old anger.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
he's very serious about it. And he says someday, somehow, it will be uprooted like African slavery.
Yeah, I was just like, man, this is getting worse and worse.
Yeah, so he's kind of comparing tipping to like slavery. But when you think about it,
it's a pretty big comparison.
But they've legalized paying people $2 an hour.
That is crazy.
I mean,
it's not slavery.
What was time worth? Like, inflation is crazy, right?
You would assume. I mean, that's why you would hope like they would at least incorporate that to the pay.
Crazy back in the day.
No, $2 now.
No, they're talking about now. Yeah, $2.13 now.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like, do we have we're gonna play more videos to see what?
Yeah, actually. So let's see.
Or some news articles.
Okay. I'd say go to the Starbucks ones just because the Starbucks situation is actually pretty funny, and I think it's a good point for conversation.
Okay.
Basically, so Starbucks has implemented this new tipping system where they're basically asking for a tip whenever you get a coffee, and they'll ask you until you give them one. One of the big memes that you see on TikTok nowadays is they'll say like when the Starbucks person flips the screen around, because I don't know if you guys drink coffee, but they flip the screen around, and one of the options is for you to click and give them a tip. And then, if you flip it back, if you don't give them a tip and you flip it around, a lot of the time they'll like scoff at you. You can actually play this lady.
Get all uppity about it.
Scoff.
Yeah, let's see one of the other videos actually before we go into the Starbucks. Yeah, that one right there.
Wow.
I wonder why her hair is that color.
Nobody is obligated to tip no fucking body.
This girl is absolutely gorgeous and she's absolutely correct. Now, I am a tattoo artist and I definitely encourage all of my clients to tip their tattoo artist, especially since I make a living off of that shit. But I definitely acknowledge that it is not a requirement, and if I do get just my price, then I should be fine with that as well. But I recognize that a lot of other people do not feel the same way. Let me give you a little story time. So yesterday I went to a restaurant with somebody that I love, and we decided that this time we were going to turn this duo into a trio, and we invited one of our friends. When we sat at the table, none of the servers showed up, and one of the managers came by and they told us that they would not like to serve us anymore. And we asked them why, and they told us that tipping was a big reason. Like I said before, because of the field that I am in, I do make sure that I tip everywhere I go. But sometimes my peers may not always do that or have the finances to do so. But do you feel like this is a good enough reason to deny service to somebody for the rest of their life if it's based off of tips and the service isn't always up to par?
Yeah, I mean, I think that tipping is sort of like it's important, but it's also unnecessary. They should just change the law so that it's outlawed. That's really what I think. You know, because like then people wouldn't even have to make the choice whether or not to tip. You wouldn't have to say, oh well, you know, black people don't really. We're a community that doesn't tip very well. It'd just be like no one tips ever, and that's fine. You know, people get paid a living wage, and that's acceptable.
And then when you have like, you know, because they'll always argue, I would assume that, well, you know, it's you don't have. They're not legalizing that you have to tip, so it's like they can just leave the system as is. But I think the more you let that kind of linger in the air to where, you know, corporations can kind of stronghold customers and their employees to essentially be like, you know, we're gonna socially incentivize you to tip even though you don't have to. The more like, I guess, strong arming the establishment's going to be to get tips out of people. So it's like you're kind of reinforcing an expectation that not everyone wants to abide by, and then you can enforce consequences to that. So like this lady's just like, oh, well, you know, we're not, you know, the biggest tippers. Or I had a friend who's not a big tipper, and now the restaurant doesn't want to serve us. You'll start running into issues like that. So I think it probably would be better off if we didn't have tipping and we just switched to a system where people are, you know, just paid a fair wage.
Yeah.
All right. You want to open up the floor though? Like
yeah, let's go ahead and just everyone jump in. But before everyone jumps in, I did want to just point out one thing about the Starbucks thing. I had forgotten it before, you know, bringing it up earlier. But basically, when you're at Starbucks, they'll give you, if you're at the Starbucks drive-thru, they will hand you a card reader machine, and then you have to put your card in and then select a tip. All they did was pretty much, you know, work through a drive-thru transaction, and they expect a tip, which is kind of ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, let's open up the floor. Let's see what everyone thinks.
Actually, let's start with that question too, to kind of give someone the work off of. Like, do you think that's fair, or do you have any issues with that type of system?
Would you tip at the drive-thru, Josh?
Tipping at the drive-thru?
Yeah, if you just drove through McDonald's and they asked you for a tip, would you feel obligated to give them?
Yeah, the lady's looking at you like, you know, with very stern eyes.
No. You know, because the service is not competent enough.
Right.
You know, so if it's service that is like something that you actually put your mind to, yes, you deserve a tip that what you're worth. But something like fast food, Starbucks, unfortunately, like, yeah, if you put my swirlies on there, cute the fuck enough. Excuse my language. And it looks nice. Like, yeah, I may tip you more than I tip a man who do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not equal opportunity. It's not equal opportunity.
If they draw like a flower in my latte, okay, maybe
you know make me feel better.
Yeah.
You know, make me feel better as a man. Oh, I got coffee. Oh, now you making swirlies and heart faces on my whipped cream.
It's really adds the experience.
Magnificent.
There you go.
No, I agree with that actually, honestly. And I was talking to Zoe about this earlier. Honestly, it's like when you're in a situation where you have to tip another man, there is a little bit of an
crazy,
like an awkward, I guess. The situation I basically described was if we all went to a restaurant, you know, me, Roosevelt, you know, if the whole gang went to a restaurant.
Yeah, we're just out.
Yeah, and there's like a guy serving us and everything. And, you know, I'm just like constantly complimenting him. Like, man, he's doing a great job. You know, I want to bless him with a nice tip, you know?
Pause.
That would just be a little awkward, I think. But if it's like a nice woman, you know, serving and everything, and she's doing a great job, it's like it doesn't.
Dudes.
Yeah.
Huh?
These poor dudes. Just working their souls away.
I think semantics plays a big part in how that sounded, though. You know, I want to bless him with the big tip.
I want to bless him with a big tip.
The big tip is crazy. Big tip is insane. That's
I'm
insane.
sorry, everybody.
No, it's fine. Steve, you were just trying to help him out. I get it. You get it.
It'll make his day better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Producer, Hiram. Big tip is crazy.
But yeah, you know what? I think that goes to like the line of where gender, I think, plays a big part in it. Where I think restaurants are really incentivized a lot of times, where they tend to want to have female servers.
Yeah.
Because I think people just receive females a lot better, especially in service industries, and then they just get better tips. I mean, Hooters has an entire industry based off of just hiring women, for one purpose only, and that's because their chicken tastes terrible. But we know that's not what you're there for.
Right.
No question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're really just there to enjoy the view, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that's been tipping. Anyone else got any thoughts on tipping?
Yeah. Anything new?
Well, tipping's just kind
But
of
why
hard.
about tipping?
How?
No, because I was at Papados the other day. You guys know where that is? It's pretty close by.
Yeah, that's a
So-
good lobster spot.
Table across from me, right? The waiter actually spills a drink on the person.
No.
So it's like, I'm sure he did it at the end.
You comp him out.
But it's like, man, do you tip him? Do you tip him anything? Do you tip him nothing because you spilled a drink on him? He made one mistake.
Tip him $5.
You ask
so that
him
he
for
doesn't
money.
Kill himself.
How much
like-
effort? How much effort did he put into it? Did it look like he
Oh yeah, he tried to catch it. He went for I would say he went for a good catching motion
He scooped at it.
to try to recuperate.
Alright.
Yeah.
But look, like, did the tray fall or did the water fall? So did he catch the
It
tray?
wasn't even a tray. It was just the drink and the water just fell completely on her.
So easy. You're telling me that he
In her
didn't-
lap.
he
They
didn't-
had to move tables.
So he didn't Spider-Man it at all.
They were discomfort.
Moving tables
Oh,
is
okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
He didn't
Yeah.
he didn't catch the tray, then catch all the food, and then catch you too, and then look down at
He did not pull the Tobey Maguire.
Spider-Man.
No, no Tobey Maguire, no tip.
Man, that was the worst
No
service
cap.
ever. I'm surprised you gave him any money.
Spider-Man.
But
If-
yeah,
if
I
I'm
would
gonna
would
give a
just tip him out of pity. Honestly, I tip him a few dollars out of pity
Give
for
him
that
a-
mistake.
That's a pity tip.
Yeah.
But he probably get like half. But that's
As a
just
man,
me.
who wants a pity tip?
I'm saying.
I mean, you
Me?
know,
I'll take one.
sometimes the motherfucker.
You gotta get how you live.
That's like that scream laugh, that the Wayne Brothers thing.
Oh man, but
All
pity
right.
tip is not good.
All right. Well, what do you guys think? You think that's good?
Yeah, I think we can close it out. That's been tipping. So
tip.
make sure you tip your next waitress, tip your next Uber driver, give them a nice big tip. And
Pause.
Yeah, that's imagine not getting tipped.
I'm telling you guys,
That-
listen.
That's the worst.
That's crazy.
Do it. If not for you, do it for them. Let them know you really care and give them a really big tip.
Extremely.
That's all you gotta do.
all right, so
Substantial tip.
you can follow us at Code Popcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Rumble. We're on all platforms. You can actually watch video on Spotify now if you didn't know. So if you're someone who watches the Spotify feed, make sure you check it out. So thanks for popping by.
All right, guys. Peace.